Hey everybody, it's Vision, and today we're going to be operating this $10 keyboard from Amazon with some Gateron Milky Yellows. Let's get right into it. For this build, we wanted to go really cheap, so I picked up a $10 keyboard from Amazon. It had blue switches and just a regular plastic case. For the switches, I picked up a 72 pack from Amazon of Gateron Milky Yellow Pro switches, and they are pre-lubed. For additional dampening, I'm also making a silicone mold for the bottom of the keyboard to get rid of some of that echo. So as some of you noticed, this board isn't actually a hot swappable PCB, so there are a few things that we're going to need to do to remove these switches from the board. We're going to need a Ryobi solder, soldering wire, flux paste, soldering wick, and a brass wire cleaner to remove these. Now, of course, you don't really need a Ryobi soldering station. You can really use any one you want. However, I do like this one because I got to plug a 4 ampere battery into it. And swapping between two of them and just recharging, I never had any downtime. So this is the first soldering job that I've actually ever done. So trying to desolder was a learning process. I actually kind of done a little bit of soldering before, but I've never done any desoldering. So as you notice, it's taking me a bit to actually understand the fundamentals. And I also try to heat the solder and then place the wick without really realizing how it works. Now, I did eventually get it down, but it took a bit. The next thing that I tried to do is not using a desoldering wick, but I ended up trying to use a solder sucker. So what this does is it sucks up solder. However, it didn't do that good of a job. The solder wasn't the best that was already on the board. So after actually finishing the board, I finally got it down. So the first thing we're going to do is apply some solder flux. I applied a little too much, I think. And the next thing I'm going to do is prepare the soldering wick, pulling out enough. You do want to pull out quite a bit because heat does transfer pretty quickly from the soldering iron through the wick to make sure you don't burn your hand. Now we're going to tin the tip a little bit. I applied a little too much solder to it, so I'm going to clean it up. But tinning it does sound kind of counterproductive. However, it does help with heat transfer. As you notice, and when I hold it up to it, you can actually see the wick start to turn silver, and that's actually the solder kind of being fed right into it. All of that smoke is the flux kind of burning up, and the flux is also being absorbed. Do note how I'm giving it a little twist around? That is because the pin of the switch actually kind of protrudes and it helps get the rest of it. Another method I like to do just for the rest of the cleanup is to press the soldering wick against the pin and I hold the ironing on the base, basically the PCB, and it'll help absorb the rest of it. Now for soldering, it's kind of the easier part. You're going to hold the soldering iron to where you're actually going to be soldering, and then go ahead and slowly start feeding in the solder onto it. You'll notice that it starts beating up from the heat. Notice I keep the iron there a little bit longer, and then I pull away. It'll then keep its form, and it does harden pretty quickly. As this board only has 3 holes, one is going to be for the center of the switch, the other 2 are going to be for the pins. However, these switches, they do have 2 legs on each of them, so we're actually going to clip them off so they can actually fit on this board. So now we're going to go ahead and install the rest of the switches onto the board. Now for the second part, we're going to go ahead and create our silicone mold. So I'm going to mix part A and part B, 1 ounce of each to make 2 ounces, and I'm going to pour this into the bottom of the keyboard. So here is the mold after I poured it all out, and here is the mold after it dried. Now, I let it dry in my window and my curtain actually caught it, so it actually dried with it, explaining the issue right there. This keyboard does have lights, however, each line has its own dedicated color. However, I can change the pattern if I wanted to. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I actually had a really fun time building this keyboard. I actually learned how to solder and desolder, and I really got my hands into the keyboard from taking it all apart and putting it back together. What do you guys think? Let me know. Have a good one.